Hello everyone and welcome to a short AAR of a playtest of my Molodechno scenario in my Memoir 44 breakthrough campaign on Operation Bagration. This time I used the air pack, as you can see, and it was a Russian win by 22 15, I believe. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 2017. So as far as that's concerned, the score was pretty close, but in the end I had the idea it became a bit boring because it was just a matter of time before the Russians would catch up with the Germans, and the Germans didn't have that much they could do to actually score significantly more victory points. A couple of things I noticed also. Well, first of all, if you place a train here, and it's actually been destroyed, but I'll place it there for the sake of the example. If you place a train here, which is where it actually starts, what that means is when you have Russian units entering the board anywhere between the entry markers here, so for instance here, it keeps the Russians from being able to push into the city from that side, which is actually a tactic to defend the city of Minsk from that side, where of course there are a lot of objective medals to be gained. It does feel a little bit gamey, but yeah, I don't know. It does mean that you won't be able to actually move the train and exit it off the board here via the railroad bridge, which is how the Germans can also score victory points. And when the railroad is actually open, it only takes them about 2 turns to do so. Well, not maybe this one, but the one over here, yeah, it takes 2 to 3 turns. So that can happen pretty quickly. And then we've come to the impact of the air pack. What is actually relatively easy is, well, this is, yeah, I'll place the bomber here. If you place an aircraft there, any train cannot pass. It cannot pass through an enemy air unit. Yeah, that is a pretty easy way to stop them. Of course, you can put some German regular units next to it, adjacent to the plane, and try to shoot it down, but the train itself doesn't have any way to do so. So I do suggest that I'm going to put that as well, not really an optional rule, but if you do decide to play with the air pack, you should give the train some anti-air ability, meaning that you can just fire at an enemy aircraft, an adjacent aircraft, and roll 3 dice against it. You might even consider, since many trains were equipped with anti-aircraft guns, to treat it as artillery and even allow it to attack a train as far as 2 hexes away. And then it doesn't really matter. Of course, it's 1 unit, so it doesn't really matter if it's, for instance, 2 hexes away from the wagon or 2 hexes away from the locomotive. Yeah, so if you do play with the air pack, I really do strongly suggest, and I will put it as an optional rule, well, as an obligatory rule, if you use the air pack, to give the train some anti-air capabilities so that it can actually just roll 3 dice or even 4, just like any normal unit. Other than that, and that would be standard for all the scenarios if you decide to use the air pack, that the Russians start with 6 air cards rather than, I believe it's 2 or 3, depending on whoever has air superiority. I believe it's just 2 for both sides in 1944 on the Eastern Front, which, by the way, I find pretty strange because certainly by this time, and absolutely during Operation Bagration, the Russians had an overwhelming air superiority against the Germans. But yeah, okay, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, and it was simply here during Operation Bagration, but not along the entire Eastern Front. That would highly surprise me, though, but okay, I mean, we're digressing a little bit. Other than that, what's quite fun is units entering here, yeah, have to battle just a couple of German units, and eventually they will probably make it. But yeah, it's more difficult to cross the rivers. But yeah, in the end, they should make it. Some of them, you can get them via reinforcement rolls, quite similar to the previous scenarios. For instance, Minsk. The difference being that you don't have to roll for the exact placement. You can choose any of the hexes where you're allowed to place units. Only this side where you place them is predetermined, so either left or right. Also placing pontoon bridges over here, I mean, this really opens up the way, forces the Germans to defend this. The Russians can exit units here for victory points between the markers, just this one and this one. Those are for the Germans. They are only allowed to exit via the bridges, road bridge and regular bridge, respectively. Yeah, so that's fun to be able to place those pontoon bridges over there. Yeah, and other than that, I mean, this is more of a strategic thing or a tactical thing. These trucks, for instance, let's say they start here. Yeah, going through Minsk would really slow you down, also because you first have to get rid of all the friendly units in the city at start. So you can also try to move them over here, and then from this road move to that road and get much closer to the exit hexes. What the Russians can do to counter that in the beginning of the game is to place a couple of partisan units here, because of course those trucks are pretty vulnerable. In this particular scenario, that consists of only 2 truck figures per side. They are treated as infantry, so they're very vulnerable. So that way you might, that's a counter strategy. I think that covers most of what I wanted to say about this particular scenario. I will playtest it again, but now again using the standard rules, that is without the air pack, because that does make an impact whether you, that really makes the railroad and the trains play very differently, because it's more difficult to target them, and you can hit them a few times, but that won't stop them from moving, and placing an enemy aircraft on the tracks will. And even if you shoot it down, the Russians start with 6 cards, so it's pretty easy to at least put another air unit back. Of course, not the same type, but yeah, another aircraft. I mean, yeah, that really helps, because the trains carry 2 units each usually, well, 1 unit each, but yeah, so 1 train will already grant you 2 victory points as the Germans. Finally, based on this playtest, maybe the most important change I'm going to make is I'm going to reduce the required number of victory medals from 20 to 18. We'll have to wait and see if that's necessary as well if you play without the air pack. With the air pack, yeah, it just drags on a bit too long, this scenario, to my taste. As I said at the very beginning of this video, it starts to become a little bit boring. It's just a matter of the Russians catching up, knowing that they actually will, barring some major mistakes, or I don't know. Yeah, and I want to keep it closer and tighter, even though the victory medal score seems to suggest that it is pretty close. So, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and see you on the next one.